Hey, Salmon Skins, welcome to episode 24. It's a double dozen. That's right, it's episode 24. I'm recording this episode on Friday morning, the 15th of May, the same day it goes out. Now, I was supposed to record it yesterday, but what happened was, it was partially my fault, but it was more the fault of our horrendous neighbour in the building next door. She's in the building next door. We're separated by a building, but it sounds as if we're just separated by a wet piece of paper or some kind of cloth that doesn't really block sound. Because I decided, because it was a lovely day, really, really sunny, the weather's great here, which is an advantage because you can get outside. I mean, I think if it was raining all the time, it'd be even more depressing than it is, and more kind of stressful than this pandemic already is. So I said, look, I'll take my gear and I'll walk to the Phoenix Park, which is the largest public park in Europe. It's full of deer, and President Michael D. Higgins, aka Bilbo Baggins, and his house is on the grounds. The zoo is contained within the Phoenix Park. It's huge. So I figured, look, I'll go to the Phoenix Park. I'll find a quiet spot at the end of it or in the woods somewhere. And I'll sit down and I'll record a podcast remotely outside with the kind of, the wind and the sounds of distant cars and people distantly chattering. But I figured it would be easy, but it wasn't. There was too many people around. And also, there was people doing yoga, people cycling, thankfully not doing wheelies, because that's all they seem to do around here. There's like a gang of, I call them a gang, a group. Gang makes them sound like they're dangerous and have some kind of importance, but they're prepubescent boys trying to act like men. And they're cycling mountain bikes, and they're constantly popping wheelies, and it seems to be a sort of you can't be in the gang, you can't be in the group of lads, you can't be in the collection of boys, boy collection. But yeah, they're popping wheelies, so much so that I almost think, maybe they just want unicycles. Maybe that's it. Maybe they actually want to be all riding around on unicycles, because they love being on one wheel so much, but they can't get unicycles because everyone would laugh at them. Until Kanye West does a little TikTok of him dancing on a unicycle or something, it won't become culturally acceptable to ride around on a unicycle. So until that day comes, they're just going to have to keep popping wheelies on their mountain bikes, which is difficult enough to do. I mean, it's kind of impressive, but also, if that's the only thing that you can do, it's not very impressive at all. So the reason I went to the Phoenix Park to try and record remotely, which, spoiler alert, obviously because I'm recording now, it didn't work. There was just too many people, and there would have been too much wind. I would have had to record inside, a big cloth bag or something to stop the wind. And then that would have just freaked people out. If they're walking past a section and there's a couple of trees, and then slap bang in the middle of it is a bag, a talking bag, it would have been, people would have rang the guards and they would have come over and said, what are you doing? I'm recording a podcast. Do you want to be a guest? Do you want to be a guest on my podcast? And the guards would have arrested me. Look, it would have meant for an interesting story, but I just, I couldn't find anywhere that was sort of out of the way of people, because people were everywhere. And also, I would have been too sort of self-aware. People were walking past, they would have been staring at me, kind of, what's he playing at? What's his game? But I felt that I couldn't do it here, because it's difficult with Cara sharing an apartment. She's on Zoom calls with her coven all the time. And I hear them in the background. They're constantly, light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. I don't know what they're doing. I think it's some sort of yoga mantra. And there's an office, there's a bedroom, there's a sitting room, but or the living room. The living room has the buzz of the fridge, and it's a big room, so it's kind of too echoey. And the bedroom's okay most of the time. I've recorded some podcasts in the bedroom, but the problem with the bedroom is beyond that wall is our horrible neighbour's apartment. Now, we've learned an awful lot about this person, mainly because she talks very loudly. It's not like we've been eavesdropping. It's as if we've been forced to listen to her shit. She's almost as if she's got a broadcasting license. She's so loud, and she's talking on the phone, usually complaining to people or screaming at people or saying, "Why did you fucking call me?" Just don't answer the phone. If that's how you're going to talk to people when they ring you, just, don't answer the phone maybe. And she's had gentlemen callers. Well, I mean, they're callers. They're not gentlemen. Over in her house. And she's got a young kid as well. That's the thing. She's got like a 4-5-year-old. She's 5 years old. Maybe 6. No, I'd say she's about 5. I've seen her on the balcony a few times. And Annette, our horrible neighbour, she does be shouting at her all the time. She does be screaming at her just for being a kid. Like, she was screaming at her, screaming down the phone, complaining about her daughter while her daughter was in the house, saying she's scribbling all over the couches. I don't fucking want her. I don't want her here. And it's just horrible. Like, I really feel bad for the daughter, but, thankfully the daughter was not taken away, but, well, she was taken away by friends. One of her friends called over. I think could have been her sister, and then an older woman who I don't think is her mother, because she does be on the phone to her mother as well, giving out to her mother saying, you're saying I'm an unfit mother. And I'm thinking, yeah, she's not far off. She's not that wrong, really. But someone came and she went off with, I think it could have been her sister and her sister's young daughter and her sister's fella. And then her friend, who also drove in, was chatting to her, and she was being really nice to her. And then she gave her a hug. And it's so weird when you see people hugging and you go, no, don't hug. That's too close. Pandemic. You just want to scream, pandemic. But I guess they probably would think that this whole thing is a hoax or something, or that, it couldn't possibly infect them. And they'd be right. So anyway, listen, there's been some very, very funny stories going on because, pubs are closed. There's no gigs happening. There's no plays happening. There's no restaurants open. People aren't out and about doing stuff, enjoying their lives. And everyone's suffering. And I'll tell you who else is suffering? The world of showbiz entertainment. Because stories are thin on the ground. There was a war of the words, which is not as exciting as the War of the Worlds, because, there's no aliens involved. But there's 2 Irish singers, Dickie Rock and Johnny Logan. Now, Johnny Logan is the only singer to win the Eurovision 2 years in a row. And he also wrote one of the winning songs for the Eurovision. Ireland, of course, famously won the Eurovision 27 times in a row, and then dropped the ball in the late 90s, early 2000s. So Dickie Rock is an 82-year-old man with hair colour of a 22-year-old man. I don't know if he dyes his hair, or as my mother puts it, dips his hair like a sheep, like a sexy sheep with a lovely side parting. But Johnny Logan was being interviewed, and the interviewer mentioned Dickie Rock, and Johnny Logan just went off on a tirade, a tirade even. How do you say that? A tirade? He went on a rant. Okay, let's just call it a rant. He went on a rant about Dickie Rock, asking, quote, what would Dickie Rock know about being a musician? Dickie's idea of an international tour was to have a gig in England. he bought a pub in Spain so he could gig there. Now, to me, that sounds like, buying a pub just so you can gig there. It's kind of every comedian's fantasy. I guess it was Dickie Rock's fantasy as well, but he got to fulfill his fantasy. And then he goes on, we know Dickie in Ireland, but go out of Ireland and say Dickie Rock, and people will think you're talking about some kind of a stone you'd find in a museum. What? Like that, that's a good line. Dickie Rock. A museum full of stones that are shaped like phalluses. I think that's what he means. And then he goes, I love Dickie, but he's a legend in his own head. He lives in a fantasy world. Dickie heard about this. This came out of nowhere. Dickie, outraged, told the Irish Sun, give Johnny a hug. I'd give him a fucking box. I'm 82. Even now I'd give him a box. I don't know why I had to mention his age. So he just didn't understand. He says, I can't understand it because I always got on very well with Johnny Logan. There have been no incidents. I praised him to the world and I praised him to everybody. Johnny seems to be blowing off his own achievements an awful lot. Johnny must be very insecure. His career is mostly abroad and he's very successful at it. I'm happy that Irish people know me. I am happy to be at home and not to have to go away to pursue success. Which is really yeah, I love being a megastar on this tiny island of Ireland. I don't want to be famous all over Europe like Johnny does. I feel bad for him being famous all over Europe and having to live there in Europe. Johnny Logan seems a little bit full of himself because he said in another interview that he never saw himself as handsome. I'm like, no one's talking about your handsomeness. Why are you talking about that? But he's the people he sang for. Pope John Paul. Yeah, was he really a pop fan? He was more a sports guy, right? The Queen. Which Queen? Prince Charles and Lady Di. So, and he added, I toured with the Royal Symphony Orchestra. I've done the London Palladium about 20 times. Top of the Pops about 14 times. Get Dickie to match one of those, But then Dickie responded, I've done the London Palladium, the Royal Albert Hall. I've played Carnegie Hall. Blah, 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 blah. And it's just, it's nuts. The two of them had this kind of spat out of nowhere. But then Dickie was like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. I'll give him a kiss next time I see him. Now, the other story that interested me was from the website dublinlive.ie. So this is just a kind of just for people who live in Dublin, I guess. And this is about Tesco Ireland, forced to close part of busy Dublin store after, quote, animal-like behaviour from shoppers who allegedly, quote, abused staff. So Tesco Ireland, and this is a big Tesco called the Clearwater Shopping Centre in Finglas, which is quite near my old house. I used to go there a lot back in pre-lockdown times. So basically what happened is that in the middle of this large store, they have their clothing section. So apparently what happened, they had to close the shop because people were stripping off in the clothing area to try stuff on and then abusing the staff. It was disgraceful, carry on. A Tesco spokeswoman told Dublin Live, the safety of our colleagues and customers is our number one priority, with strict social distancing measures and careful management of the numbers of people in our stores at all times. Last week we experienced higher footfall than normal in some stores with F&F areas, which is the name of their clothing section. So they decided to close it. And then people sort of apparently burst into the clothing section, started taking their clothes off and trying on the clothes. Surely if you've walked there with clothes, then you have clothes. What are you getting changed for? What do you need new clothes for? There's nothing happening. You can't go anywhere. It just seems like a lot of these people are like, I'm doing what I want to do regardless of what's happening in the world, because that's how I live my life. They're not going to stop me from buying clothes and doing what I like to do. And then this is unbelievable with Lidl Ireland, the other big supermarket chain. So Lidl Ireland were forced to stop the sale of 4 highly anticipated items due to dangerous, huge queues outside their Dublin stores. So they had to make a statement saying, we're not selling these items, these like summer items, because, Lidl are known for their middle aisle stuff. Go in for some yogurt, leave with a wetsuit. So here are the 4 items that were in high demand. An outdoor trampoline, a garden slide, a swing set, and a wooden kitchen. So they describe the demand for these items as unprecedented. Like, do you really need those things? They feel like, I know they're all outside, but, playgrounds are still open, are they not? No, they're not. Oh, I guess they do need them. I guess I'm the bad guy. I demand as a citizen of this country to have my trampoline. So guys, listen, we're going to take a short little break and we'll be back after these messages. A salmon of knowledge is a salmon of knowledge is a salmon of knowledge tonight. Do you want to relax? Do you really want to relax? They come at you with a loofah, you grab a sponge. They do a seaweed wrap, you run a mud bath. That's how you get relaxed. And that's the Connery Cove way. Hello, I'm Sean Connery, famous James Bond actor and now retired Scotsman. I bought Connery Cove in 1974. In 1975, I had the entire island moved out to international waters, so anything goes. A buffet of haggis, available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All sports activities are catered for, as long as it's golf. There are no other sports, we only play golf here. Register now for your free set of golf clubs, and you'll have a license to putt. There have been rumours that I'm hiring a staff of monkeys dressed as waiters, serving drinks and playing monkey guitars. This is, of course, nonsense. I don't pay them. Relax in one of Connery Cove's cosy caves for the night. If you can get used to the bats. Bat shit removal is one of the many services our monkey staff provide, but don't get too close, they'll eat you alive. Connery Cove, open to the public. Connery Cove slaps all other resorts open-handed on the face. Connery Cove. Terms and conditions apply. And we're back. Guys, listen, there's been a glut of cancellations. I get notifications on my phone about tour dates that I'm not doing anymore because of the global pandemic. Festivals have been cancelled left, right, and indeed right down the middle. One of the festivals cancelled is the Rose of Tralee festival, which is not going ahead for the first time in 61 years. It's amazing to me that it's been running for 61 years. Now, the Rose of Tralee, to non-Irish listeners, is basically a beauty pageant without a swimsuit part. So what's the bloody point? No, I'm joking. It's basically like a lovely girls competition, and it's very twee. You know, in recent years there have been articles and people have been saying, should this be happening, should it not be happening? Now, one person who definitely is disappointed that it's happening, maybe not that disappointed, is my father, Gerry Salmon. And guys, got a little bit of a treat for you, because what my dad does is he usually watches it. No, he doesn't usually. He absolutely definitely watches it every year. And a lot of the times he has picked the winner of the Rose of Tralee, not out of a hat now, through carefully judging each woman on their loveliness and their personality. And they always do, they have like a little skill section or party piece section where they do a little bit of dance, make a little love, get down tonight. And like, you know, they'll sing a song, or they'll do a jig, or they'll tell a joke. That always goes well. But my father is quite the fan. And through all of this lockdown, people have been unearthing old photographs, old files. And my friend Kevin McGarn sent me a bunch of files, audio files of a show that we used to do down beside the Point Depot. Now, it was called Laughter Tracks or Laughter Lines. I can't remember. Laughter Tracks or Laughter Lines, something like that. But it was renamed by Kevin and Ronan Grace, who was the other host of the show, and then I joined. I think that's how it happened. I mean, I thought I started first and Ronan joined, but Ronan informed me that no, he and Kevin were the originators. And then I came on to help. Now, this episode, we recorded an episode kind of about the Rose of Tralee. It was just me and Kevin in the studio. And we had a section where we basically rang my father about 20 minutes before the show aired, which was it was like a live show with sections on Dublin City FM. So it went out broadcast to, I don't know what their range was, 40,000 people, something like that. I don't know how many people were listening, probably less than that. Now, you'll notice in this clip that I'm going to play where we ring my father Gerry, so you get to hear Gerry's voice, albeit over a phone, and we asked him for his predictions. And this is a clip from 10 years ago. 2009, I think it was, so even longer than 10 years ago. Myself and Kevin, we weren't professional comedians. We'd only been doing comedy a couple of years. And we rang my dad to get his predictions for the 2009 Rose of Tralee. And this was just the first heat. So this is my father. Now, when you hear my voice, it'll sound different, and that's because I had a bit of a head cold when I was recording this particular episode, and also I'm 10 years younger, so I hadn't quite figured out how to enunciate and use the tool that is my voice. So, play a little clip from Beside the Point, myself and Kevin McGowan talking to my father, Gerry Salmon, on the phone.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Laughter Tracks.
How are you getting on?
That's the kind of stuff you'll be hearing around here. Join me in the studio is Ed Salmon.
I'm not wearing any pants.
Ed is completely naked from the waist down. Ed, you're very welcome to the show.
I was going to wear a gorilla suit, but then I went the complete opposite way.
And half naked man is the opposite of gorilla, is it?
Of course.
We interviewed an expert.
We did.
I'll let you introduce this.
Well, it's just a Rose of Tralee enthusiast. Mm-hmm. My father, Gerry Salmon, who's been watching the Rose of Tralee.
You mean Salmon's not a stage name?
No, Salmon is my actual real name.
I thought that was just a ridiculous name you made up just to be more funny.
No, it's my real hilarious real name.
Go on.
Even though it's spelled wrong. But, he's been watching the Rose of Tralee for the last, 15, 16 years. And he's got a 76% success rate in picking the winner.
Yeah.
So...
That's fairly... How did you work that out? To the decimal point? To the decimal point,
I phoned up my old maths teacher. And together we worked it out. Over a long lunch, we had sushi, I believe.
So 76% success rate. That's pretty. That is pretty impressive.
It's pretty successful. So I mean, if there's any addicts, gambling addicts out there, you might want to put down your drugs paraphernalia and take a listen to this interview. I don't know.
Well, I have to say, this was heavily edited. Your dad likes to talk.
Well, it was a 17-minute interview. Where he just kind of rambles on and on and on and on until you have to kind of slap him on the head.
So we're going to just play three essential clips. So,
listen out for some top tips if you can make sense of it.
They're in there somewhere.
They're in there somewhere.
But I mean, no, he did a good job in it. Now I tell you, of what I've seen, I can't remember Thorn that well, but Marty Whelan and Turbiddy. I mean, your man is better than him.
Yeah. Ray Darcy as well. Didn't Ray Darcy do it?
He's not kind of promoting himself over much, you know.
Yeah. He's facilitating the ladies.
Yeah, more so, you know. And you wouldn't mind facilitating the
Oh! Yo!
That was, of course, his opinion
Review on Dahi.
On Dahi's performance. He liked Dahi.
Yeah.
He thought Dahi was down to earth. He got the job done. No messing about. No pretentiousness. And
Gerry can spot a phony from 200 yards.
A mile away, even.
Longer than that.
Yeah, so the next clip, I don't even know what this one's about, but let's play it and see.
There were two girls actually from Knockcrockery. You were in Knockcrockery with us, but you wouldn't remember it, on the road to Sligo.
Knockcrockery.
Yeah, it's a small place. I think it's one of the tiny towns, a grand little village. Or small town, or no, it's a village.
Yeah.
And there's two girls from neighbouring towns then, up there. Don't ask me now. One was a redhead, a natural redhead. And she was a nice girl now. She was chatty and that. But some of them are a little bit over the top. They get kind of lost. A bit like myself.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, as I said to you, when I watch it basically for just to see would I be able to pick the winners.
But you've been quite successful picking out winners over the years.
Yeah.
If I remember, anyway.
Last few years now, because I just made old eyes not as sharp as it used to be.
Yeah.
Knockcrockery. Big shout out to the boys in Knockcrockery.
Also, I'm kind of disturbed by two things that he said there. He said, we were in Knockcrockery years ago. You wouldn't remember it. That's because, I don't know if you know this, Kevin, but I was routinely chloroformed as a child. If we visited somewhere and it wasn't that nice, they'd chloroform me and erase my memory of it.
Just drive you out to a cliff and throw you off, roll you up in a carpet and push you off.
Exactly, yeah.
Is that why you have those weird bumps in your head?
Well, that's alien abductions, but nobody believes me. Also, he said she natural redhead.
Yeah, how did he know that?
How did he know that? The eyebrows, I'm guessing. Her arm hair was the same colour as her hair on her head.
He's got a HDTV.
He does?
Yeah. He zooms in.
Massages the eyeballs.
So, in that very long clip, he said Knockcrockery.
Two girls from
Knockcrockery?
From Knockcrockery.
Yeah.
I don't know, was it a conjoined twin Rose entry or something?
It just sounded, yeah. Okay, we got one more.
I think this is his tips, yeah.
Yeah, this is finally,
major.
after 10 minutes of talking to him, we got down to his tips.
This is only from the first night, though. Well, I think it's come back from when, what's his name, Derek Davis was on it, and he tried to eat some of the roses, and they got rid of him. Do you remember that?
Forget that now. Definitely. No, to me now, on last night, but I'll be watching it again tonight now. The ones I have basically picked so far.
Yeah.
The second girl up, I think she was the Boston Rose.
Okay, the Boston
she
Rose.
Had a nice manner, and that I don't know where there was a lassie from. She was from Liverpool, but I wouldn't, not that. Like, it was all a bit frivolous that she was talking about.
Yeah.
But that red-haired girl now from Knockcrockery, I forget who she was. And there was one there, the Leicester Rose.
The Leicester?
Leicester, New York, and this other girl, I don't know who she was from. She's a red-haired one from Knockcrockery. They'd be my 4 out of last night's 18 now.
Well, you heard it here first. Put your money down. Put your bets on. Gerry Salmon's top tips for the Rose of Tralee.
They're going to move.
There you go. we had to cut him off.
We couldn't edit it out.
It was a fairly abrupt edit. I apologise.
They're going to move. I think the house is possibly being attacked by military types.
Yeah, there you have it. That's a blast from the past. And I think, I'm not too sure, but I think Gerry did predict the winner that year. I mean, he usually does, and he usually has. So fair play to him for predicting the winner. I'm just going to say he did. So guys, that's our show for today. So that's all from me today, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye 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 bye.